Hello, everyone. My name is Lily Cunning. I am an herbalist. I formulate for, and I also do wellness and herbal consultations for clients. And I teach classes, sometimes online, sometimes in person. But education is a passion of mine, especially about wellness. So let's dive in. Today's topic is nutrition and the digestive system and gut health. It's a big topic, lots to cover. Today's session is going to be broad brushstrokes, and I am happy to answer any questions afterwards. You can email me, or if you feel like you need a little additional help and support, there will be a link in this video to how to book a consult. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Yep. All right, here we go. So, gut health is whole body health. In Ayurvedic medicine, they talk about building digestive fire as the foundation of good health. And when I teach my herb students about the systems of the body and how they all are interrelated, we always start with the digestive system. It is the very first system that is created when human beings, or any creature for that matter, are created. The cells start to divide, and then all of a sudden you see the long tube, the alimentary canal, which will ultimately have a bunch of organs attached to it, is formed. And everything comes from that. Our digestive system is innervated, so it affects the nervous system. Most of our immune system lives in the gut, 75 to 90%. And of course, it also is the home of much of our endocrine system organs. So we want to work to tonify and balance the digestive system wherever possible. But especially in the United States, where most of the folks who watch this are located, Americans have digestive and diet issues. There's no doubt about it. 25% of all primary care physician visits have to do with gut issues, whether that's acid reflux or something else. Half of Americans think weight loss is an actual health goal. Women have been indoctrinated to hate their bodies and want to change them a lot. As a result, people not only are diets that don't work and actually cause more damage than good, but now there are all these drugs out there that didn't start as weight loss drugs. They usually start to help diabetics, but they found that people lost weight, similar drugs in the world, and those have some serious long-term adverse health outcomes. I have to ask, why do Americans in particular fall for this stuff? A lot of marketing money out there to make you think that you're 25 pounds, 40 pounds overweight, that you have some serious health issues. But the fact is that most of those health issues that they, which we'll talk about in a minute, corollary and not causal. In other words, weight doesn't necessarily cause those issues. Sometimes those issues cause the weight, and sometimes they are parallel with other root causes. So our medical system works on symptom management. Diagnoses are based on symptoms, and most of the care people receive are about symptom management and not necessarily getting to root causes. Holistic medicine, which includes Western herbalism, where I was trained, as well as Oriental medicine, as it's called, Chinese medicine, Irish medicine, that sort of thing, are holistic systems that look at a lot of different systems and root causes. There's a lot of dysfunctions that happen, particularly in Americans, gas and bloating, so much acid reflux and GERD in the United States, gallbladder attacks, people getting their gallbladders removed after years of not really treating the root causes of the gallbladder dysfunction, constant diarrhea or constipation or alternating between the two. Bad breath can either be a mouth issue or a gut issue. Inflammatory diseases, and many people diagnosed before the age of 35. And I will talk about why I think that is. But we have a lot of digestive issues here in the United States. And much of it is caused by what we eat and what we do. So, symptom, as I said, Americans are billions on digestive supplements and treatments. You can see several here that are labeled as proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, to regulate chronic acid reflux, and hopefully it doesn't turn into GERD. Now, I'm not saying it's not a problem. Acid reflux can cause ulcers, it can lead to esophageal cancer. It's a cascade of problems. But here's the thing. PPIs have huge side effects, and they were never studied to be taken in the long term. They are short-term solutions, and while they may have value, stopping the acid, if you don't work on the root cause while you are taking the PPIs, all you're going to be doing is taking PPIs long term and affect your liver and affect your gut in a way that is not fixable. So, for GERD, really interesting because this is 2014 numbers and the numbers are slightly different, but the proportion, the ratio of, let's say, East Asia to North America has not changed. Tiny amount in Asia for GERD. Almost a quarter of the population in 2014, and it's higher now in North America. And like I said, 25% of doctor's visits when you go to your regular doctor are related in some way to GERD. It's a 46% increase in the last decade, and it's unfortunately self-inflicted because Americans aren't given good information on how to care for themselves, especially their digestive tract or nutrition. We see a lot of autoimmune disease in the gut, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Autoimmune disease is a dysfunction where your body starts attacking itself. And in Western medicine, they name the dysfunction after what part who discovered that part being affected. And so ulcerative colitis means the colon is by the body. But in holistic medicine, like I practice, there is no fundamental between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. Yes, different body parts are affected, but we feel like the same root cause is present. And so root cause may be very similar for each person, regardless of what kind of autoimmune dysfunction they have. Symptom management, maybe, we're looking at the body, but causes are often the same. You wouldn't necessarily thought if you were just sort of living in the overculture and being, fed things from, for example, the only drug, blah, blah, blah. And it's all based. And the diagnosis is based on where the autoimmune dysfunction is present, but that's not nothing to the root cause. Gallbladder stones and gallbladder attacks. Man, I have seen so many clients who I wish had come and turned to me sooner because they ended up having their gallbladders removed. Their gallbladder kept giving them pain signals, which were ignored. And eventually, the organ was. And that is a drastic solution. You should never body parts as like the go-to. 25 million people, have some sort of in the United States, um, and a quarter of them require some kind of treatment. Now, what happens, why gallstones form and why gallbladders, fail is there's too or waste in the bile the liver produces. So the gallbladder is an empty organ, and the bile from the liver that gets produced to break down fats is distributed to the gallbladder, which sort of time releases it is needed by the digestive system. If you are eating too fatty of a diet with too much or other kinds of additives that the liver just can't break down, the gallbladder is going to be. And there are so many ways to improve liver and gallbladder function before it gets to this point. Many people do not end up turning to holistic medicine until they've tried everything, which includes removal of their gallbladder. That does not solve their problems. It stops the organ that is sending the distress signal of bad digestion, but it doesn't necessarily relieve the problem completely. So Yeah. But what's not a problem? So, we are spoon-fed all this information, and a lot of misinformation facts of people who are fat. BMI is not a real thing. It is not a measure of health. It does not take into account so many different variations of bodies. The human population incredibly diverse. Some people are naturally bigger than others. Some people have more fat deposits in different areas than others. And that doesn't indicate bad health. Does indicate bad health are actual measures like blood pressure, blood sugar. Those things can help you to some problems. But BMI does nothing. It's just a simple mathematic ratio founded in the 19th century and has not changed in any way and does not really indicate bad health. Obesity as a term basically says if you have a BMI of 30 or higher. Therefore, obesity as a term for healthy or unhealthy is irrelevant. We need to look at is actual lab results of systemic processes that your body does with the blood, right? Being fat is only a health problem because of the stigma that is attached to being fat. Um, and that can some stress, anxiety when looking for a job or for people to date or any number of things where, being fat is considered undesirable. It's not a health problem. I'm going to say it over and again. And the other thing, and I'm going to have some resources at the end, if you are intrigued by this or outraged that I'm saying these things, I'm going to give you a book to read by a medical doctor who, talks about these issues and be healthy at every size. And also women in particular, because we are constantly barraged with the hate your body message, lose weight message, sculpt this, take this drug to fix, oh, your skin, oh, your hair, all of these things. I just want to say that women are taught to hate from an early age, and that's what's unhealthy. And postmenopausal women like myself are supposed to gain about a year to stay healthy. Why? Because fat cells store estrogen, and estrogen keeps certain systems humming in our bodies that aren't related to sexual health. For example, bone density. You need a certain amount of estrogen stored in your body to maintain a decent bone density and not get osteoporosis or osteopenia. And so menopausal women should gain a pound a year post-menopause. And constantly told lose the weight, lose the bone density in postmenopausal women. I wonder why. Yes, health at every size. So can be healthy, cardiovascularly fit, strong in your musculoskeletal system, and considered fat. And you are told that you are not healthy. And often, you see fat people and capable and healthy being told to lose weight and that they're unhealthy compared to skinny people with all kinds of disorders. Fat people aren't taken seriously at the doctor. It is a notorious health problem in the United States that fat people don't seek medical treatment because everything is put on their weight, even if it has nothing to do with weight. Um, there are entire industries designed to hate your body, fashion, women's magazines, clothing, cosmetics, diet. These industries are there telling you, change it, change it, change it. And I don't, it's so exhausting to be in circles where people are catching up and they're like, I lost 20 pounds. And like that becomes the conversation. So, start small and I don't talk about weight or weight loss as a positive thing or a negative thing. It just is. And some weight loss is unhealthy and some weight gain is unhealthy. And we just have to learn to be more discerning and not just talk about the numbers on a scale. I just want you to know that you are beautiful and you can be healthy no matter what your shape. Let's talk about some fad diets because Nutrition is the foundation of how we build our bodies, how we keep them healthy, and how we create new cells. So, what we put into our bodies in the form of food and supplements makes our bodies. It matters. And so, let's start with the keto diet. Um, it means eating lots of fat, it mostly protein and very limited carbs, right? Like 5% of your daily calories are supposed to be carbs. Um, if you follow this diet, your body enters ketosis, which is an early failure of the digestive, and it starts using fat for energy. But mostly what it does in the very beginning is help you lose a bunch of water weight. Um, so people monitor their ketosis, but the deal, ketosis can lead to ketoacidosis, which is life-threatening. Um, this is not what we should be doing to lose 25 pounds. This is not a condition that is healthy for the body to enter. Your body is panicking as if you deserted on the top of a mountain with food supplies, right? So you go into ketosis. Uh, and this is stressful to your body. It can lead to all kinds of health problems. The diet was invented by an associate surgeon who was neurological patients. Uh, you know, Surgeons have one semester of new school, that's it. So they really don't understand nutrition and how vital it is to the body. But this diet was formed to help avert seizures, right? To help people who had seizure disorders. And when they're on this diet, they are monitored carefully and they go off the diet and possibly back on the diet in alternating to make sure that they get sound nutrition. Anyone who's doing keto for the long term is going to have health failures. It's just not a healthy diet for people. So, keto, I want to kind of tell you a story. So, I had a partner that I knew was on the line of diabetes. And at one point, his body started trying to sock away sugar. Um, and he would form these very large infections in his body, like boils. And so he had one on the side of his arm underneath his armpit, and it wasn't getting any better with some at-home treatments. And I said, you know what, if this isn't better tomorrow, we're going to the ER because it probably needs to be removed and they should definitely look at you. And I'm glad we did that. I insisted on us doing that because not only was it the size of a softball, bleh, but his blood sugar was 800. And if you know anything about blood sugar, that is bad. And the doctor said, why aren't you in a coma? He had gone into ketoacidosis. And so, he had to be hospitalized a weekend. It's not a thing for you to try and put your body through. Please don't try it. They work in the short term. They're meant to be gone off. And if you don't have a nervous disorder like seizures, it's not it's not for you. This diet for you. It will cause, in the beginning, the keto flu, which you'll feel like you have the flu. You'll have tons of body aches. You'll be so fatigued. This is what you're doing to your body. It can cause kidney stones in the long term and huge deficiencies, which have a cascade of problems. Let's talk about the vegan diet. And yes, vegan diets are not healthy and they are. This is a diet that eliminates animal foods, so meat, dairy, and eggs, and sometimes honey for some people, no fish. And I do have to put out that many people who have eating disorders go on to a vegan diet to mask those problems. Not everyone, you know. I was a vegan for 2 years, a vegetarian for a very long time, and often eat vegetarian multiple times a week. And I was a vegan for 2 years, and I did it for animal welfare, right? It was important to me. But here's the thing. It purports to be healthier, and it is not. It says that we don't meat and dairy and eggs. And I don't believe that to be true anymore after studying nutrition and working with people with deficiencies. It also claims to be more, and, while animals are killed for it, there are sustainable ecological humane ways to do that, just not big ag factory farms. Big ag factory farms are the of climate change, not small sustainable farms. The thing about the vegan diet is it is missing some serious nutrients that can cause a lot of long-term problems. And if you are interested, if you are a vegan and you feel like this is a nutritionally and morally superior diet, I do urge you to check out some people that are vegans. One of the great places to do that for free is to go to the subreddit on reddit.com and just read some of the threads, problems that people ran into after years of doing this. Read about how, they are making the shift. Read that show that this diet is nutrient deficient. And here's the thing, if you have a healthy diet, you should be able to get everything you need from the diet. You should not have to do a lifetime of supplementation because your diet is deficient. You can't get B12. You often can't get enough calcium and vitamin D. Heme iron is much more absorbable based iron. And so often people become anemic. You're not getting the essential fatty acids that you need often, as well as zinc. So, I truly believe that if you have a healthy diet, you're going to get what you need from your diet. Sometimes you get imbalanced and sometimes you need supplementation. Absolutely. But it shouldn't be a lifelong thing. One is an open source scientific journal, and it has documented that vegans have higher incidences of cancer, allergies, and mental health disorders than people who are omnivorous. It's also not a sustainable diet. There's a lot of talk about, it uses more water and it uses and all of this. But those arguments based on factory. The vegan diet requires lots of fossil bringing food from all over the world to sustain a affluent, mostly white phenomenon that is veganism. Um, Creating synthetic vitamins that frankly always absorb well. Without that, we couldn't have long-term. It relies on monoculture farming, which is harmful to the environment. I would argue growing corn and soy and wheat in monoculture farms is more adverse for the environment than buying meat occasionally, eating it a couple times a week from small family farms. There's other fad diets out there too. Intermittent fasting is a big one. Paleo, which is silly, and pH diets. Now, they talk a lot about, alkalinizing your body and drinking water. Alkaline water's ridiculous. You don't need to worry about that. But the one merit that I will say about foods is they tend to be more vegetables, and Americans don't eat enough vegetables and greens. So I will never argue with you. You should up your vegetable content and your greens, but that also doesn't change the pH of your body. That's not how nutrition works. Paleo is just made up. It's not an ancestral diet and it's not balanced. And fasting, really, you should do that under the guidance of a practitioner, and only do them in the short, not intermittent all the time. Uh, and everyone in your life should know you are fasting and you should have a support network because you can make mistakes and you could faint or you could, have lapses while driving or operating. It's important for everyone's safety, including your own, that you don't do it on the regular and you don't do it to the extreme. So let's talk about what is healthy because I've talked a lot about what isn't. This is a diagram of the Mediterranean diet. It's a pyramid, and I think the United States now operates under a pyramid, although no, it's my plate now. That's right. There's so many variations of what the USDA has. Unfortunately, a lot of it has caved to pressure from industry lobbies. But here is a government issued public health from, I think it's Greece. So every day is that bottom part of the, right? Every day you should get physical activity. You should take some wine in moderation. You should have non-refined cereals and whole grains at the base. So again, that's whole grain bread. We're not talking white refined flour. Whole grain pasta, brown rice, etc. Eight vegetables make up the second largest tier of what you should be eating. Six servings, including what this says is wild greens. So go out and forage for some dandelion greens, mustard greens, things like that. And three servings of fruit. Then two servings of dairy products a day, cheese, yogurt, whatever. I personally don't like drinking milk, but I love cheese and I do like you. So that's daily. And then it goes into weekly. And this astonishes many Americans because all of the and animal-based protein other than dairy is up here in the second tier, and you shouldn't be eating it every day. You should be having different variations each week. So 5 to 6 servings of fish, right? So almost every day you'll have a little bit of fish. 4 servings of poultry a week. Three of potatoes, right? So it's very interesting to people. They think only the animal protein, only the vegetables. But in this pyramid, it's more about what you should be consuming as opposed to food groups. And so potatoes, 3 servings, eggs, 3 servings, and sweets. Interesting, right? Sweets, 3 servings a week. Not every day. I know a lot of Americans, when they come to me for wellness visits, I ask a lot about what they eat. Of them, when they're being honest, they will admit they eat sweets every day. It's not saying don't eat sweets. It's saying you need to do it in moderation. And then red meat, which for this includes both beef, lamb, and pork, 4 servings a month. So maybe once a week. And this is what they recommend. Now, organ meat will also be in that red meat category. Um, but goodness, how different is this from the diet you currently eat? Whether you are someone eating overly processed, convenience foods, or you're getting food from the because your life is led on the run, or you are vegan and you're not incorporating the whole, more than top half of the pyramid. I would encourage you to kind of look and maybe do a food journal and where you are and where you need to be. And to kind of list your health complaints and see if it's tied to nutrient deficiencies, um, that you may be able to solve simply diet. Another thing that you should think about consuming regularly is probiotic food. Now, probiotic food is food that has beneficial bacteria, sometimes yeast, in them, and there are so many that can be consumed. So with probiotics, you know, there are different based on what I, for example, really don't like because I have a texture sensitivity to it. It's just a little too slimy for me. But I do love kimchi, and I usually have cider vinegar on a lot of things, and yogurt and kefir and kombucha. I make kombucha at home, and I love. So I've had kvass a couple times, but it's not very near me. I'm not a huge fan of sauerkraut, but I could probably make my own and like it better with the flavor profiles. Um, but all of these are so good for you. They feed your colony, and then having fiber that those bacteria like to eat, super healthy. And when you have a colony, you have a healthy gut. It helps you to digest your food more properly and therefore get more nutrition out of it. Making sure you have a lot of fiber in your diet, which comes from fruits, vegetables, greens, beans, all of those things are high in fiber. It will help you prevent constipation and all those gallbladder issues that we talked about earlier. If you've ever had hemorrhoids, having high fiber can help you not strain hard and create hemorrhoids. Um, it not only affects your in a healthy, but all of your systems, immune system, endocrine system, nervous system, respiratory system, all of these benefit from having a healthy probiotic colony. So if you go to the hospital and need anesthesia, if you take antibiotics, if you are, have a bout of diarrhea from the flu, you work on restoring your colony because you lost a lot of those beneficial microorganisms. And so taking a probiotic is appropriate. I don't recommend taking probiotics on an basis unless you have lost some of your colony. Now, in terms of probiotics, I want you to look for something that has at least 10 microorganisms in it, 10 different ones, as well as well over a billion CFU in quantity. Otherwise, if you're only taking lactobacillus, that's one beneficial bacteria, and you need, 11 or 12. So I definitely recommend one that fits criteria. And if you're interested, the ones I recommend, shoot me an email. I am happy to recommend some different brands. Your gut is interconnected, as I've said. And if you have an unbalanced gut, you suffer from anxiety or depression. It is a pathway that is constantly being in your body, and microflora are important. Now, you watch this video, you're also going to get the slide deck, and there are links embedded in some of the images and some of the words. This one, microflora are important, leads you to a study, or not a study, a document that shows you what microflora and what they do, and where they live in or on your body. Or also your skin is full of microbes that are beneficial for you. So you will get the deck if you are this as a an email. And if you just happen to sit on the links to the documents will be below as well. But let's talk about bitter. Americans think bitter is bad. They think it tastes bad. They avoid it. Um, but I will tell you that we evolved to bitter. And we don't just have bitter receptors on the tongue, right? When I was a kid, we learned sweet, salty, sour, bitter on the tongue, although that is not correct the way the little diagram happened. We know that now. But we have bitter receptors throughout the entire digestive. We also have them in the lungs and the brain. And when they are stimulated, they stimulate proper functioning in the pancreas, in the liver, in the gallbladder, in the stomach. And so anyone who issue acid reflux, bile production, bile release, stones, nutrient absorption, digestion, diarrhea, or constipation, any number of these things can be fixed by regular consumption of bitter. Now, a lot of Americans don't even know what a bitter food is. They're like, is that like sauerkraut? No, that's sour. Bitter foods, we just don't have them in our, right? Other cultures have bitter foods, bitter greens. Europe consumes bitter drinks in the afternoon. It helps with digestive functioning. Um, but Americans really have that as a cultural. And so, what I usually recommend while you experiment finding bitter foods that you like, to take digestive bitters as a tonic at least twice a day, 15 minutes before a meal. It primes the digestive pump, gets it ready to receive food. And the longer you take it, because it replaces that you should be eating, the stronger your digestive system functioning becomes. So if you have digestive issues, especially chronic ones or ones that are just taking can help avert a health crisis like a gallbladder removal. Um, and so I highly recommend digestive bitters, and there will be a link to digestive bitters in this. So you can see digestion in so many ways. Again, you're going to get a link to this deck, so you'll be able to read all the different ways that bitters can do. And this link in the middle is an article that I wrote on bitter and why you should consume it. So there's lots of resources for you. But the key takeaways that I want you to have is that your gut is connected to so many other systems. And if you can get your gut healthy, you are getting the rest of your body healthy. I want you to know what dysfunction looks like. It looks like autoimmune dysfunction, acid reflux, GERD, fatigue, and nutrient deficiencies. not obesity, not excessive BMI. And the things that you need for good, optimum gut health are a diet where you get your nutrients from your food, beneficial microflora consistently throughout the gut, and bitter, right? You need bitter to stimulate those proper functioning. So, my final recommendations for you as someone who is interested in achieving good gut is a whole food diet that resembles the Mediterranean diet that I put out there. Um, Taking a probiotic when you get imbalanced, everybody gets imbalanced time to time because of medical interventions or having the flu. But you don't need to take a probiotic all the time. But you should be eating fermented foods regularly. Acquire a taste for certain kinds of fermented foods and them, weekly. Taking a bitter tonic regularly. That links you a whole gamut of different bitter tonics that you can consume to keep yourself healthy. And of course, all of the other things that you do to keep healthy, getting good quality sleep, getting exercise every day, this helps you maintain a healthy metabolism, which your gut relies on that metabolic process of day and night, day after day, to function well. So, getting regular sleep and getting regular exercise will help you to maintain your metabolism and caring for your emotional health. That includes, taking care of your HPA axis and maybe doing breathing exercises and making sure you have microflora, but perhaps you need to seek therapy. I also have a here on the YouTube channel about emotional support and stress relief. And I highly recommend if this is you to go, who isn't it at this point, right? We live in interesting times, as the curse says. But caring for your emotional health will also care for your gut health. Many of us experience stress in the gut, right? We get upset stomach, sometimes we throw up. People manifest stress in different ways, but listening to your body and caring for yourself when you have too much going on is important. So I hope that you take care of, and here are some resources. So Haven Herbs is here for you. We obviously have products. And there's another link to bitters, but also we have classes, including web videos, blog posts, podcasts, in-person classes, online, and I do consultations. Um, Here are some other resources for you. So Lindo, that's the doctor that health at every size. If you go to their website, you can find a link to a lot of excerpts where to buy the book. You can also just find Health at Every Size by Lindo Bacon. Um, on any bookstore, bookshop.org or thrift. You can also find some great recipes from the Cleveland Clinic that do the Mediterranean diet there to get you if you're really like wading into territory there. If you want to check out the ex-vegan support group at it, there is a link there. And I have a full script dispensary as part of my clinical practice. And you can get all kinds of amazing probiotics, professional grade at discount. I provide them almost at cost. So that supplements can be expensive. I want my clients to have access to supplements in a way that doesn't break the bank. So those are some resources that I have for you. You will see those resources in the deck, as well as in the description of this video. I wish you good health. I'm filming this at the end of 2025. We're headed 2026, and this is going to be one of the features of January. January is Digestive Health Month. A lot of you will see this in January of 2026 and after. I wish you good health and a prosperous 2026. We'll see you in the new year.